Alright, here we go. In today's video, I'm actually doing something a little different. Now, this is still gonna be one of my tier list videos, but it's a bit different because I'm not doing food, I'm not doing candy, snacks, whatever. I'm actually going to be doing my first ever Ninjago video. Now, I know most of my audience just came here for the regular tiers on food and stuff, rankings on food, but Ninjago is actually a theme that I'm into, that I've been into pretty much ever since it started. And now, since I'm finally starting my channel, I decided why not make a video about it. Now, if you haven't ever seen Ninjago, it's basically this show about these Lego ninjas, like, fighting villains and saving the world. I really recommend you go look it up because a lot of this stuff I'm saying is probably not going to make any sense unless you've seen the show. Now, if you're someone coming from a Ninjago community or whatever, and you saw one of my comments and you're now watching my video, well, hi, I guess. But, yeah. This tier list is completely out of order, but I'll try to do my best to get it started. But, yeah, I really wish I could explain more, but like, it's really not gonna make sense unless you actually watch the show, but I'll still try to give a basic explanation. So before we start, what are elemental powers? They're basically the powers in Ninjago. Most of them are not even elemental based, they're just called that, but that doesn't really matter. They are elemental powers in the show. Now it says that there's 33. I might have left out an element, but I believe it's only 33. No, I did leave some out because you hear in the title, excluding Forbidden 5. Now, if you've never seen the show, the Forbidden 5 is basically this new, like, the new villains of Ninjago's Dragon's Rising, which is one of the new Ninjago shows. They're going to be the main villains for Season 3. Two of the villains were actually seen in Season 2, Part 2 of Dragon's Rising. And, yeah, it's a lot to go over, but basically, there's currently 3 Ninjago shows. And I just want to get this out the way for any of my viewers just coming and seeing this video. But, if you already know, then you can skip ahead to the actual ranking part. But basically, there's 3 Ninjago shows. The first one called Masters of Spinjitzu, which went from, I believe, the pilot season to season 10. There's just a show called Lego Ninjago, which was for Netflix. No, I don't think it was for Netflix. They just did like a soft reboot of the show. They took out the Masters of Spinjitzu, and that went from season 11 to season 15 or 16, crystallized, and now there's Dragons Rising. All 3 shows take place in the same timeline, but they're just different series. But, anyway, let's get started. Enough clarifications. First up, we have Fire. And if you've seen the show, you know that this is Kai. But, I think Fire is probably one of my favorite elemental powers. His Kai is one of my favorite characters. He's actually my favorite ninja in the show. And also, before I continue, I'm not solely ranking it based off of how strong it is. That kind of does play a role in it, but these are just how much I like the elemental power. I'm not really trying to rank the character that goes along with it, but that'll obviously have some bias as to how I think about the power. But, yeah. I love fire. Even though it might not be one of the strongest ever powers, I love fire. Kaya is my favorite ninja, so. Next up, we have ice. You know, I'd have to say ice is pretty ace here. I mean, it's one of the original elemental powers. He's not really one of my favorite ninja, but his element is pretty cool. Like, he can, like, make stuff. He can freeze people, I guess. And make things out of ice. And yeah, I really, really recommend you go watch the show. There's 3 shows. The original show has like 15, 16 seasons, but there's also specials and stuff. But I really recommend you go check it out. But, yeah. Zane's elements of ice. He's actually creating an ice path, and that's actually a clip from season 3. I forgot the context of it. But, yeah, next up we have Lightning. I'd say Lightning is pretty A tier as well. Just because of recent, in the show, I'd have to say it's 8, but I'd have to put it, I'd have to put it in front of Zane. I forgot the word I was looking for. But yeah, Jay currently Dragon's Rising, he's evil now. And like the fight he did with Nia in season 2, part 2 of Dragon's Rising, that was a pretty cool fight. And his lightning was actually yellow, but this is the original Jay's lightning is blue. And yeah, I mean, I think lightning is a pretty cool element. I think it's a pretty A tier element. I don't really have anything else to say. Next up, we have Earth. Coal is my second favorite ninja, so yeah, there is going to be some bias, but I love the elements of Earth. Now, Coal doesn't really use his magma hands as much as he used to. I mean, he still uses them, but he used to use them a lot during Season 7. But yeah, I'd have to say it's probably my... Or maybe I'd have to put it A tier because... I mean, I do love the element, I just can't really put it any higher. But yeah, Cole is definitely my second favorite ninja, so whenever I do my ninja ranking, now you know where he will be. Now, these four are just the original elemental powers. There are two more and then other elements, but next up we have Lloyd. We don't really know the name of Lloyd's power. Throughout the show, it's been called Energy, but then the movie came around, they called it Green, and now, and there was a part in Season 4, actually, where Chen just called him the Master of Power, which didn't really make a whole lot of sense. But now it's apparently called the Power of Life or whatever. So, Energy, let's just keep it simple. It's been called Energy. Lloyd is not one of my favorite ninja. I mean, he is a really cool character. I like him. He's just not one of my favorites. Maybe he's my third or fourth. Maybe he might actually be my third, but I don't really know. We're ranking the power here, but I will admit it is pretty powerful. I don't think I like him more than Cole's Earth power, though. Because Cole's, like, the power of Earth in Ninjago just has, like, so much opportunity. It's just such a cool elemental power. But water, I'd have to say water is pretty B tier. Now, I did love Seabound, but over the years, my opinions about Seabound kind of changed. But, yeah, water, I mean, it's water. I don't really know how else to explain it. Like in any other media where the character has water power, that's basically what Nia has. So, yeah, these are all 6 of the original ninja. But let's go on to Wu and Garmadon. This is Wu Creation. We've only seen Creation used once. And let me clarify, Creation and Destruction, they aren't elemental powers, they're actually elemental essences. How is that different than elemental power? I honestly don't really know, but this is an essence. He's only used it once to create a dragon, and I want to put it higher because I do feel like it is powerful, but I'm not ranking it based on how powerful or strong they are, it's just how much I like them in the show, and yeah, I can't really put it any higher. No, Destruction, I love Destruction. I don't know if I like it better than Cole's power. I mean, realistically, it should be higher. But yeah, we saw in Season 9, Garmadon used the power of destruction to actually create the Colossus Titan. I forgot what it was called. I think it was called the Oni Titan or whatever. And I'll admit, that was pretty cool. But I actually learned something from a comment or video a couple weeks ago. So Wu and Garmadon, their main power is not really only one power. Like, Garmadon has some creation, some destruction. Wu has some creation, some destruction. Now, granted, I'm pretty sure Garmadon has more destruction than creation, but they each kind of have, like, a split in power, so they aren't... That's how Garmadon was able to create the Oni Titan in Season 9. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Anyways, these are it for, like, the main powers of Ninjago. Season 2 rolls around, we only get one new elemental power. Actually, no, we get 2. Darkness, and yes, this is Garmadon again, but this is in Season 2 when the Overlord possessed Garmadon. I don't really... I mean, realistically, it should be higher. I mean, it is a pretty cool element, but, like, we only really saw it used when the Overlord possessed Garmadon, so... Because of that... I do want to put it higher, but I can't really put it higher. We haven't really seen it used that much. Golden power, S tier. Golden power is kind of like a weird power. It's like it's the almost powerful power in Ninjago. I'm not gonna put it any higher, but it's the most apparently the most powerful power in Ninjago. And this isn't really an element. I think it's also an essence because it's basically creation and destruction put together. But it's also the opposite of darkness. But yeah, I think this is a pretty S tier power. I do want to put darkness higher, but we haven't really seen it used that much in the show. And if I'm wrong, please let me know down in the comments. Obviously, the people who have seen this show or clips of the show, they don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, we should. Which power wins? Now, this is an image I found off of Google. I think it was like someone's post or whatever. I don't know who, I just found it off Google, but credits to that person for this incredible fan art. Wind, I'd have to say, I don't know if I like it more than fire though, but it's definitely S tier. Wind is probably one of my favorite elemental powers. I feel like it is better than fire, but when Moro had wind, it was just goated. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Now looking at it, I kind of want to put this down the tier list a little. I think it's kind of good right here because yes, while it is the strongest power, I wouldn't say it's my top 3 favorites. So yeah, I'm just looking to see which one I should use next because this list is completely out of order. And this is technically the last element that was in the original show. They didn't really have any new elements until Dragon's Rising came along. Oh wait, I forgot. Season 4. I put Season 5 before I did Season 4. I don't know how I forgot. But yeah, Tournament of Elements, we learned that there were more elements more elemental masters than the ninja. Mine, I'm gonna have to be honest, is pretty F tier. Yeah, he can read mind, but I don't really care for that character or his power, so Shadow, I'd have to say he's pretty B tier. I mean, he can like become a shadow basically. That's basically what his power is, but yeah, as I said before, I can't really put it any higher. I do like Shay's character, but next up we have Nature. I think Nature is pretty C tier, to be honest. I mean, he can create vines with his staff and wrap people with his staff, but he can't really do much else. Speed, I have to say speed is A tier. I can't put it any higher because it's just speed. Like, he just runs fast, but this is a very good power to use in combat. And because of that, that's where it will go. Gravity, I also have to say that this is B tier because, well, it basically lets him float around and fly around. There are certainly cooler elements, but it is cool like when you're defending yourself from opponents. I will admit that. Sam, this is actually a character from Dragon's Rising, but I couldn't really get any good images for Jacob Pepsner from Season 4 of Ninjago, so this is what we have to deal with. I don't really like sound, but you know, they kind of made it a cool animation for it in Dragon's Rising, so I'll have to put it in D tier, even though it was only shown for like a couple of seconds. Next up, we have Smoke. This is from Dragon's Rising, but I couldn't find any good images for Ash. In case you weren't aware, Ash was the master of smoke during Season 4. Smoke, okay, I love the power of Smoke. I think it's S tier. It's not better than Moro, it's not better than Kai, but I love the power of Smoke. I love Cinder's character. He might be one of my favorite side villains in this show. I mean, after what they did to him in like part 2 of Season 2 of Dragon's Rising, I really didn't like what they did with him, but other than that, he's a pretty cool character. And I like the power of Smoke, so maybe it'll have to go in A tier. Let's see, Metal. I think Metal's a pretty solid element. No pun intended. Like, he literally becomes metal and when he becomes metal, he's pretty much unstoppable. Kai had a problem. Kai had quite the tough time fighting him in the first or second episode of season 4 when they were going to Chin's Island. Poison, I think it's D tier. I mean, Tox, like, I like Tox's character design, but she doesn't really do that much with her powers. So I'll have to put it in D tier, unfortunately. Form, which is Camille's power, I think that's how you pronounce her name, but realistically, I feel like it's a good power, but she hasn't really done that much with it. Like, when you become someone, you don't even get their elemental power, so I think that's pretty useless. Yeah, I'll have to say C tier. Maybe D tier, maybe F tier if I'm being honest. Next up, we do have. Oh, um, yeah, this is actually the last element from season 4. Now, I don't believe I left out any powers, but if I did, do let me know down in the comments. But I believe that these are all the elements. Obviously, it's excluding the Forbidden Five because season 3 is not out yet. Now, we do know, I think, like 3 of their elemental powers, and we have kind of seen some of them in the teaser trailers. At the time I'm recording, they have came out. But I mean, I can't really judge them off like a 1 minute clip, so Amber, I'd have to say it's the bottom of A tier, and that's only because, okay, well, let me explain what Amber is. Amber is basically a power that was created by some character a long, long time ago. It was explained in the Amber Spiral, which is actually a canon Ninjago comic. But basically, once like you hold your victim's hand or you touch them, like you kind of get like a copy of their elemental powers, and you get to use it. Now it's not really stealing their elemental power because you aren't like absorbing it from them, but once you touch them, you can actually get a copy of their powers. It's only temporary, but I mean it's a pretty cool elemental power. I'm putting you on A tier because just recently I learned she can't actually control every elemental power with it. Now we kind of saw it in season 9. In season 9 when she was struggling to control Garmadon's power when on the Oni Titan, like when they were all on the tower, on the building, in season 9. I forgot what episode it was. But yeah, she can't really control destruction. But apparently she also can't control golden power, which is the most powerful power in all of Ninjago. But I say it's bottom of A tier just because I do love Skylar as a character, but I mean, it's not really that cool. I mean, it's cool she can take people's powers. I would love to have that. But I'd rather honestly just have my own elemental power, even if it's something like speed. But I believe that's the last elemental master from season 4. Now the time twins, yeah, this was gonna be time twins. They control time, control everything. I know there's like speeding it up. There's also reversal, pausing time, and slowing time down. I do feel like it should be above Moro's power just because of how powerful it is. But I like Wind better. Now, the last Elemental Masters, they will all be the Elemental Masters that were recently introduced in Dragon's Rising. Now, there were a lot of Elemental Masters introduced, but we just don't know the name of their elements. Now, there is an Elemental power I left out called Propulsion, but I don't really know what that is. And I'm pretty sure they've only, like, showed it for, like, 1 second in the Tournament of Sources in Part 2, Season 2 of Dragon's Rising, so I wasn't really going to add that if it's only been on screen for that long. And I'll try to be quick because the video was almost 20 minutes long and it's going to go over. But the first power we actually got introduced to was technology. And it's not in use here, but I think technology is a pretty cool power. She can like make technology bend to her will and she can create things with technology. That's a pretty cool power in my book. Wildfire, he was actually the second one. I feel like we need to wait for us to get to her potential. Yeah. I mean, realistically, I should put it above Nia, but I love Wildfire's character. She's a great character, but I really, really think we should actually wait for her power to reach its full potential. Because right now it's kind of like a slightly weaker power. It's like a slightly weaker variant of fire. Or some alternative version of Kai's fire power. It's not fire, it's heat, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for that. Now, the next aren't really gonna be in any order, I'm just gonna be picking. Next up, we have Quake, and Quake is basically just Earth. Um, yeah, there isn't really much I can say. It's basically just Earth, but honestly, I can't even really explain it. They tried to explain it in the show, but it's basically just the power of Earth. They just made it weaker. So, yeah, that's all I have to really say for that. Next up, we have balance. I think the concept of balance is fine, but they didn't need to make it its own elemental power. I think it's F tier, but honestly, I think it's the top of F tier. But they really just, honestly, never mind. Forget it. They did not need to have balance as an elemental power. I just think they were being lazy and they just said, oh, let's have balance. So that's pretty much what it is. Size, same thing. And you can see in this image, he's actually powering up. So he can actually either become big or small. But I mean, for an elemental power, like, come on, that's just. What were they thinking? There's so much better elemental powers that could have been in this show. Like, they could have done sand, they could have done glass, they could have done wood or lumber. They could have done anything, but they decided to go with size. Like, I can't explain why they decided to do that, but they did. So, that's where we'll have to be dealing with. Figment, I think it's a C tier, honestly. I think it might be top of C tier. I don't kind of want to put it in B tier, but basically Figment allows you to make multiple copies of yourself. So like it's harder for your opponent to fight to figure out which one is the real you. It's basically just cloning, duplication. That's basically all it is. And we're down to the last four elemental powers. Next up, I guess we're gonna use Shockwave. I think it's a pretty B tier elemental power, not all things considered. Now, it's just shock power. Like, you shock your opponent, pushing them back. That really all there is. That's really all there is to it, but I think it's a pretty cool elemental power. I do think Zeatrix, she's the current master of Shockwave. I do think they should have her have more screen time, make her elemental power have more screen time to kind of flesh it out. But all things considered, I think it's a pretty cool elemental power, and in time we will get to see its true focus. Next up, we have Reflex. I think Reflex is an A tier power, bottom of A tier, but Reflex is, I'd say, it's kind of better than Speed because yeah, Speed you get to run fast, but Reflex is kind of like better like for like when you're trying to defend yourself. Because like if someone starts to hit you, you just quickly move your entire body, and that's a pretty cool elemental power. And I loved seeing it in the tournament of sources, but we have two more powers to get through. Next up, we have plants. This is not from the show, but I couldn't really find anything. I think plants is a pretty up tier power, all things considered. Like, it's basically just nature, but all you get to do is control plants. I think it's a pretty useless elemental power. I don't know why they would make that an elemental power, but last but not least, we have surface tension. I'm putting it this high up because of the memes, but realistically, I think it's probably bottom of B tier. All she can do is just create bubbles. Yeah, bottom of C tier. That's literally all it is. They try to give her a cool name, but all she does is just create bubbles. And this might end up being a controversial list, but yeah, this is my tier list. It probably most likely will change in the future. Honestly, I think I should probably put Smoke a little down further. Yeah, I think this is pretty fair. So, I'm just changing up the list before I go. And yeah, guys, this was my tier list. On S, we have Fire, Wind, and Time. I think Earth should probably go there and wind should go here. Yeah, I think this is pretty fair assumption. Lightning should be higher up, though. Yeah. So my tier list will most likely change the next time I decide to do this. But, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will definitely do more Ninjago content in the future. This is my first Ninjago video, like, ever, so yeah, I really, really, really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm just making some more final adjustments. Yep. Hope you guys enjoy.